everybody. Welcome. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. Today on Dat Fury Radio, Mr. Furious Records' 20th birthday celebration part 2 with Cory Kibler. How's it going, Cory?
I'm doing wonderfully. How are you doing?
I'm all right. We have a lot of cool music to cover tonight. So if you haven't listened to part 1 for Mr. Furious's 20th birthday, which was back in September, we are listening to the Mr. Signal compilation, which goes all the way from the start of the label to the end. And it is, I'm checking on Bandcamp here, 81 tracks in total. We're covering, 12 or so tonight, including a couple that aren't actually on the label but are important for the story, and we'll talk about those when we get there. Did I miss anything before I get the music going?
I think you got it all.
Well, then let's kick it off with Echoes. I don't even know how right this sounds.
I don't even know how right this sounds, but who can feel it? I could try to write a separate song, I would know the difference. I don't have a thought how to reach you, but have to sing it back, Socratic method.
You remember this off the second solo punk EP that I did?
Of course I do. So this was awesome because it was some of the first solo kind of punk stuff that you did, all recorded in your place. And I did some, I'm just remembering now that I did some background vocals on this song.
That's right.
But it sounds so fun.
In an empty, so-called hall, by the sheer strength of will.
If I remember right, I did the drums for this in the summer of 2005 when I was between jobs, and then filled it out in the subsequent months in Kansas City.
Was this on Be a Ska Rat?
Yes.
Okay, so Howie's guitar case had a sticker that said, "Proud to be a Nebraska Democrat," but it was covered up with a bunch of other stickers. And I noticed one day that it covered it up perfectly to say, "Be a Ska Rat." I was pretty amped.
Somebody call me out. Yeah. We'll all learn in time. We have not arrived.
My drum chops were pretty decent at this time. Stuff's pretty tight.
I was gonna say, it sounds great. And there's something very there's something very this era about that chorus. It's a little bit more complex than just a straight up 4 count or 4 measure phrase or whatever, but I don't know, aspirational or something? I don't know. As far as your era, that era of your music.
Yeah, I don't know. The interesting thing to me about the chorus is it kind of never breaks open. It's always sort of, it's like this rolling breakdown until the very end. This is some more Bike. Nate Bike sent us some material. The album's called A Wind I Can Lean Into. And most of the tracks are these kind of 2-part. It's like he mushed 2 fragments together. And that's what we'll hear here as well, I think. I think this is one of those 2-parters.
sometimes like with some of my favorite songs that have very unconventional arrangements. So like a song with a part 1 and 2 to it. But I'm like, well, that's so cool. How'd they think to do that? And I feel like usually it's just that they had 2 parts they really liked and kind of like put them together. I don't know if that happened here, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Here, have you ever done that? You don't really do that, though. That would be interesting to try. Smash your fragments together.
Well, I kind of do. Like, so remember that one time you pointed out that some of my arrangements are kind of like Roy Orbison arrangements? Where
right.
They'll just be like, kind of like 3 parts that all happen that maybe one of them repeats, but the other doesn't. And that's a product of just having 2 or 3 parts that I liked that seemed to fit together, and also just my short attention span and not wanting to, you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, but that's a lot more seamless than what Nate did here, where we're still listening to that one bike song, but it's like a completely different song.
It totally is.
It's possible, I don't really remember, but it's possible I even encouraged him to do this. Maybe he sent over all the fragments separately, and I might have encouraged him to mash them together like this.
Yeah, this part almost seems like the robot funeral for the last part.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is much creepier. A Wind I Can Lean Into is a darker, creepier album overall compared to How Is That Possible?
Yeah, heavier for sure.
All right, I think I have 2 stories about the next one. Right.
Yeah.
So this is the picture song from Tonight the Lone Wolf Rides Alone, which is a solo acoustic kind of mini LP I did with some covers on it and some acoustic versions of originals. The original here is a Howie and Scott song with a very long title, Hymn for Our Technological Manifest Destiny, which was a B-side to the Signs.Comets album, and those B-sides came out as MP3s only. There's never a print of it. But for some reason, this is one of those things that some kids like caught on to, and this became a weird favorite. But people just called it the picture song because of the chorus. In particular, I think credit for that belongs to Jake from 12 O'Clock Fence, the bassist. I'm sorry, Jake, I can't think of your last name right now. But I'm pretty sure he just started calling it the picture song, and there it went.
Oh, go on, sorry.
No, you go on.
I was just going to say this was a total favorite. Like any show of yours or Howie and Scott's that anybody went to, this was like the banger. Everybody knew it. And I love this. I love it. It's, I don't know, one of those songs that you wrote and you had no idea what kind of life it would take on.
Never expected it. Because I wasn't thinking about the melody. I was thinking about the subject matter, which is about Charles Wallace, who was a sort of contemporary of... No, not Charles Wallace. Some Wallace, scientist-ish, who was a contemporary of Charles Darwin and was advancing a similar notion to evolution, but with a spiritual component for God basically directing evolution. And we were learning about that, and that's where the lyrics came from. So who knew that would become the banger?
It's amazing to me just how powerful a good melody is, because you can sing about like anything, and if it's catchy enough, people will learn all the lyrics, and they will. And you're right, the lyrics to this one are weird. It's a weird one.
But
Yeah, melody and prosody, baby.
Yep.
Pictures you want to.
So the other story is that the name for this album contains a mistake. It was supposed to be a Mystery Men quote, but the actual quote is, "Tonight the lone wolf hunts alone."
Right.
And I didn't do my due diligence. I just went off memory and put it out as rides alone, and have never. It just stands.
I like it better. I like rides better. It sounds like somehow more badass and sillier, and then it becomes more yours, you know?
I like your generous interpretation.
Yeah, it's I've just like, I've always liked it.
So we're gonna hear Cory get silly and weird. Did you know this was coming?
Nope, not at all.
I was expecting the vocals to enter there. We'll give it another second.
I sure was. I think for this demo version, we just did the intro for a very long time.
Okay, now.
Yep.
And the beat goes on. With the drink in hand, we will sing along.
So yeah, Robot Creep Closer. I'm busting a move from the first Robot Creep Closer EP.
Yep. So this was recorded in Matt Weiscarver's house in Omaha. We had 4 songs. I think we ended up calling the EP "Why Aren't People's Heads Exploding?" I'm pretty sure. And it was me, James Tucci from Shacker/Sleepover, Jesse Hodges, who played in a pretty big band later on in Lincoln called Somasphere, Jamie's sister Gina, and our friend Johnny on guitar as well. Gina was on synths. And I think right, for this band, it was all about being as loud and ridiculous as possible. Because what we noticed is I loved the songs we played in other bands or whatever, but I noticed that we'd play with bands like Rent Money Big that would absolutely dominate the show, and it would be I don't know, whatever. So we were like, what if we did something big and loud and fast and ridiculous? So that was kind of the impetus behind this one.
Yeah, and there was kind of a party band aspect to it too,
yes,
right?
For sure. Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of they're doing shots on stage. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Because I think we were all in our mid-20s or something. God, I think Laura hated me practicing with this band in our basement. It was so loud. These
practices would have been terrible. Yeah.
Yes. I love that riff. It's so silly. Yeah, they just went on forever and they devolved, it's one of those things where you practice and you practice for 2.5 hours, but somehow you only got through 4 songs or something, and somebody else has to come and pick up their boyfriend or something. So it was dumb. It was fun though. We played a house show one time with Straight Outta Junior High with this band. Wow. And it was just as stupid as you think it is. It was it was silly. It was very silly. Jamie's dad was taking money at the door.
Where did I go wrong with the way that I'm living?
And now for something completely different, though a lot of the same personnel. This is one of my favorite songs you've ever written. sort of pseudo semi solo album, flying under the header church directory photo starring Benjamin Axeface.
Yeah. I think for a while there, I just really liked coming up with band names. I think that's what it was.
I think you recorded this in Kansas City with me at my job at the time at St. Peter's.
I did. We were in a room full of choir robes.
Yeah, well, that was my office, which was pretty large and had a pretty high ceiling and a drop ceiling, and we set up mics and it was too echoey and weird. So I went down the hall to the choir room and pulled out like 20 choir robes and hung them from the drop ceiling to create a booth, basically, to deaden the space.
It's really fun. I have a photo from that time that I think appeared in a news story when I did a release for the show or something. So wait, personal on this was me, you, was
James.
Jamie was there, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
Who was doing strings? Annie must have been, right?
Yeah, I think so. I did a harmonica, but I can't hear well enough to hear if there's strings on this track or not.
I think there was
there
a
is on the
cello.
EP. I think we maybe did the basic tracks and then I sent them to you and Annie. I don't think I recorded Annie for this.
No, that was in Lincoln. Yeah, she was all over the place on this song. Like, it was totally like, kind of like a meandering, atmospheric sort of cello.
Am I wasting away? Cup of ice on a summer's day.
Yeah, I used to cover this at my own acoustic gigs. I would play this one. Good bop.
Drop of water on the top of a lake.
I know it has that that era of Cory sad bastard thing going on, but it's kind of like upbeat. Like it's kind of like a front porch jug band jam.
Totally. It's totally got the two-step.
There was something I was going to say. Drop of water on the top of a lake. Where did I go wrong?
You put the missing S from hipsters into lake.
That's where it went.
It's in that K as we found it.
I really pronounced the hell out of that K. That guitar tone, baby.
That would have been your guitar, the old Strat style. This was so Howie and Scott, Tired Chords, live at Scott's first teaching job, maybe, or one of his first teaching jobs at Plattsmouth. It was like the end of the school year, and he had me come up and we just performed sets for his classes. We just played like 4 sets that day, and I put a mic up. I think just one mic in the back of the room, so that it's a very roomy kind of sound. But we had some good performances that day. This is actually the first Howie and Scott song on Mr. Furious, because all the stuff before came out as CDs before Mr. Furious existed.
This sounds cool. Like, you can tell it's in a big room, but like it's got some vibe to it. That's neat. That must have been a fun thing to do. Like, just rock.
It was a blast. Yeah. I think the kids were just happy for something different. I kind of can't believe we played them our weird art rock, but
yeah, that Science Comets was a pretty weird record when you break it down. Like, there was a whole lot of evolution among those first handful of Howie and Scott records. Like, songwriting, sure, but also just like sound, just overall sound and the way you record it and everything like that. But it did get weirder. Like, Berlin is such a wild song. I don't know. I love that song, but it's an odd one.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I still have on my list somewhere to. I kind of want to re-record Signs with like the guitar tones and production I can do now, you know?
When it's those same old tired chords, you won't give up your tired chords.
Oh yeah, that weird like polyrhythm thing.
Yeah, and we kind of, so the time signature shifts, and we always kind of improvise this shift. There was not a set way that we would do it. That was kind of part of the fun of performing it. This is one of my favorite songs I've ever written, and I don't know why. Something about it just, it comes from a very deep place that I can't even really explain or say what it means.
Hear what really matters, the way to carry in your voice. Come clean when you sing before. Hear what really matters, the way to carry in your voice.
Yeah, this version packs an emotional punch. Like that recording of it is like adds a lot.
When you sing before.
Yeah, we didn't have better options at the time because our time was just so limited. But I wish we'd been able to take more time recording Signs.Comments, and because we did it backwards, right? Like I was recording guitars to a click and then teaching Scott the songs, and he would overdub the drums. And he was like, we were trying to get it all done in one summer, and he was learning the songs just barely well enough to track the drums. And so we hadn't played them live like together much or at all in a lot of cases. And so once we'd performed some and practiced up, like, yeah, they got more kind of punch, and we got more locked in with each other, and the arrangements got better, and all the nuances kind of developed. I think there's 6 songs on this live EP, and for anyone who likes Howie and Scott, it's really worth a listen, I think.
I feel like out of all the songs I've written, I've probably only finished many of them because I had a show coming up and I had to. You know what I mean? And there's something about playing a song live that really makes you lock it in and make those decisions on like how you're going to do this. Plus it just like, if you're not sure when you're live, like it'll make sense. To me it does.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that.
A show is worth like 10 or 20 practices.
Totally. It's just a different feel. But I finished a lot of songs never would have gotten done if it weren't for a show.
In my sight, speak some truth. Let me.
So the second MS Ride record, It's a Trap.
Here a while.
When we did the first one, I didn't know there would be a second one. I kind of treated it as a one-off.
By death as
But,
hot as hell.
and you gotta think kind of Bush era. I found that distance that the Nom de Plume provided
Yeah.
really helpful in writing about the Bush era. Through metaphor, of course, and with personal stuff mixed in, of course. And this particular song, the last song on It's a Trap, well, I was about to say it's not political at all. It's very political, but it's this is a story, right? This is a story about a sniper and their target, and they fall in love with their target. And so it's a love story, at least one-sided, if not two-sided. That's left ambiguous. But then, of course, the whole context of war is the setting is the political aspects.
And like a foxhole believer,
I was never quite happy with this bridge. Something about the chords and the melody
where you can,
didn't quite gel. It's short, though.
I'll take
Yeah. This is great. I haven't heard this in a long time. This chorus
yeah.
is so good.
It's the middle of night. I'm watching why you.
All the drum sounds on this album came from my Alesis Micron synthesizer. So which some of it works and some of it doesn't. It mostly works on this one. But it is a really interesting kind of John Vander Slicey production approach.
Yeah, it's cool.
I've kind of been teasing you the whole time, and we're about to break open. One last tease with the double length chord there. Here we go.
There's no need to be single. There's no need
Recorded this. Were you living with someone named Jody? Who were you living with where we recorded this?
I never lived with Jody. I was probably living still in the apartment in Raytown. I did a lot of tracking for this, though, at Matt's house. Matt from 5 Star Crush.
Okay.
Even guitars, I think I did at Matt's.
So I think you and I, when we did some guitar and my vocals and stuff, we were in somebody's upstairs or something like that. I don't know if that was your place.
Right, where did we do the gang vocals for this?
There's no need to be fair.
That's Joel.
That's awesome.
That's so good. Yeah, I don't remember where we did the group vocals. It's the hand claps and the acoustic that just like...
I don't know who actually wrote the melody, but I really like my background vocal. I love those hand claps. It's so good. It works.
That's everything.
Man, it works.
That one worked.
Yeah, that whole I remember that whole experience, that whole era, and that everything about being involved in that record was like very heavily like the George Bush era. It was gnarly.
Forgot the way that you felt bad. You didn't seem to mind, didn't seem to care that you were sad.
Another Cory tune. Is this from the Silent Woods?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know what else it's been on. It had to have been that.
It had to be. And this is actually the first thing you put out as Cory Kibler. You had done, obviously, Shacker, your California bands, Beach Puppy,
Beach
Church
Puppy.
Directory photos starring Benjamin Axeface.
Yep. This is when I went to Cory and just stuck with that.
Above water now.
I haven't listened to the song in probably 10 years.
Never felt any pain. Joe,
Is this fiction, or is this based on something?
you've been wanting for
Fiction. I think I forget what I was reading at the time, but I remember there being a character that was like a side character, but I thought it was a totally like untapped, super rich vein of story and message and theme and power and stuff. And so I would do that sometimes, usually with books, sort of like, I don't know, fan fiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You always were confused, had time, knowing what to need. Joanna never felt anything. Joanna, you've been wanting for.
So you did background vocals on this dude and some organ? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I added some form of keys to everything on the Silent Woods. I think all with the Micron synth.
That's awesome.
Which I had for 5 Star Crush. And I did listen to that not too terribly long ago, and it has some really interesting... I love it. I love your songs. The keys specifically, this was one of the more normal ones. Some of them get pretty weird.
Yeah.
And some of it really works, I think. Like, it's strange, but...
Yeah, I think some of it... I took some risks on that record, and some of it totally, I think I pull it off, and some of it is... I'm glad I tried it, I'll say. Oh yeah, Katie, right? Katie Lindhart?
Katie Lindhart, professional opera singer. You can look her up. She's out there working. But this is a set of art songs from one of her recitals. She, I knew her through St. Peter's. She sang at St. Peter's and was a student at UMKC when I was at St. Peter's. And yeah, this was a set of art songs from one of her recitals. Mix of German and French. I couldn't tell you the composer off the top of my head. But she very kindly let us put out these performances, which are excellent.
That was neat. That was a really cool thing to add to the catalog at the time. Like, just way off the usual menu. But awesome. Like it.
Yeah, this kind of goes to something I said on the last one about wanting to have some actual folk music, because so everything but this release is pop music in the sense that it is primarily the recording is the primary medium for the composition. This is the one exception where the written score is the primary medium for this art song. And Katie's or anyone else's performance of it is just an instance of the parent composition. And so the one form we're missing is an oral tradition form. I would master this a little differently, less aggressively today if I had another shot at it. It was hard. 2007 was still a lot of kind of loudness war stuff, and the dynamic range in a live performance of art song like that is so great.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we go, more robot.
Jesse played the drums so fast on this one, he would get, after a take of this, he'd be like, ow.
We had a Dark Satellite song like that, The Sound, and Drew and I would call it the 400-meter dash, because it was like a 5.5-minute song with just like crazy drums, and I'd just be aching at the end of it.
Yeah. And it sucks to get almost done recording a take of it, and you're crushing it, and then something, and you're like, fudge. So this song, so there's a band in Lincoln called The Terminals, and it was fronted by Brooks and Liz Hitt. And they had a record label where they released like garage rock bands on there. They're really good. They're awesome. But we wanted to record with them because they did reel-to-reel. They had a reel-to-reel machine in their basement. So this was recorded to tape.
Oh, nice.
Which is
I don't think I ever knew
cool.
that.
That's why that's why it sounds how it sounds. You know what I mean?
And that's why you had to do full takes.
Yeah. But I think you can especially tell in the vocals, like it sounds like.
There was a time recently when I could almost touch the sun.
So like the reverb that we were using was like there's like a coil box or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Time Cube? Cooper Time Cube?
Yeah, something like that.
Famous, yeah, that's awesome. It's just a piece of hose in a box with a speaker on one side of the hose and a mic on the other.
Awesome.
You can make your own, yeah.
I was counting down the days underneath the willow tree.
So this song to me is like kind of peak Robot Creep Closer because it's so rough and ready, but like I don't know, just like almost going off the rails at any given time, you know, but somehow it stays together or it ends up together. But like it's just really, really fun. Our songs were way longer than I thought they were. I was looking back at some songs that we did, and they're like 6 minutes long. That's a long
Some of them,
time.
yeah. This is more of a. This is 3:41.
Yeah, okay, that's not that bad then.
Whose idea was it to start Robot? Great riff.
So I would call it. So it was Jamie and I that started it, but I think the concept belongs more to him because he's really good. Like he writes some songs that are like really powerful as songs, but he's also very, very good at writing riffs and songs that sound cool. And I think he was just like, well, what if focusing on like, you know, like structure and melody and all that stuff, what if we just focused a whole lot on sounding really badass? And so that was a really good thing for me to try out.
So I got to talk about this song and the next. These are 5-Star Crush songs. They are not on Mr. Furious Records, though I am kind of interested in doing a re-release project and actually getting it out there officially because you can't find it anywhere right now. And I picked these two because they are the two that I had a hand in writing. Now I wouldn't say I wrote this song. Joel really wrote this song, but it did start that little keyboard descending Rhodes thing that you hear. My memory is that was just something I accidentally noodled out in practice. Like just like as a warm-up, like not even trying to write or make a song or anything like that, and it just caught his ear. And he really took that idea and he wrote the chords and the lyrics and arranged it and so it's 90% Joel, but I'm pretty sure I had the seed at least. I never would have turned it into anything this cool. I wouldn't have turned it into anything at all. That's Joel. He really had a golden ear for kind of this pop.
So I think we played a show once with we played a show once with 5 Star Crush at like Box Awesome or something. But I definitely saw 5 Star Crush in Kansas City. I want to say at a bar in Westport or something when I was visiting one time. And 5 Star Crush was so fun to see live. Like, I really liked the recordings, but that was a great, like, bar show band. Like, just so much fun.
It was fun to play too, and we played. The reason why these songs are on the Mr. Furious comp is I was playing so many shows with 5 Star Crush in this era, 2006, 7, somewhat into 2008. It's actually a pretty short period, but it's where I met Matt Pluff.
Yeah.
Who's a friend to this day and the drummer for Mars Lights. Danny, Danny, the original 5 Star Crush bassist, I have a song from Jam My Wave that I'm working on out to him to put bass on. And I'm really excited to hear what he does with that. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to re-release this officially, get it on streaming, do a podcast about it, and all that stuff. So if you're interested, comment on YouTube, contact me via MrFuriousRecords.bandcamp.com, leave a 5-star review on your podcast app. Let me know if you want me to put out 5 Star Crush. I gotta talk to Joel about it.
That'd be awesome. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, so we did 2 EPs in the studio and can kind of flesh that out with an interlude instrumental piece that Danny did by himself and one song Joel and I did with my equipment. So we can kind of make a 10-song record. And then we have this great live set that this piece, Asta, is from. And this is one, again, my memory says that the synth part was the origin, and it was something I was playing at practice that caught Joel's ear. This one is a little more structured with the rhythm, the way that synth part works, those 2 chords. But again, Joel's the one who took that and turned it into a song, wrote this incredible melody, incredible lyrics, gave it the structure. But yeah, we hired a guy to come to one of our last shows. It was at the Replay here in Lawrence, and record a full multi-track so that I could mix it like a studio recording almost. So this really nice multi-track with, I don't know, maybe 8 songs or something. Really fun to listen to.
Is this live?
Yeah.
It's live? Man, Joel's vocals sound amazing.
He could play, he could sing, he could write.
He also looked really cool.
He looked cool.
He's a good-looking dude that looked cool.
He had that Tennessee accent.
Which I do not have.
People, no, you don't. People, I remember we got written about once, and someone, the writer of the article in the pitch or whatever, like, slammed him for a fake English accent. And not gonna lie, like, he played it up a little bit, but that was not the main thing going on there. The main thing was his Tennessee Louisville,
drawl?
I think, yeah, is where that drawl is from.
I was the one who caught the line. Now I've got you in my arms. You thought,
you can, if you go to MrFuriousRecords.com, in the main navigation, if you open it up, or if you go on a desktop, there's a link to the 5 Star Crush website. I don't have a domain for it anymore. But there's a link to it. You can listen to this live set from SoundCloud as well as some other stuff. And I've got a bunch of the old show posters up there, and like anything I could save. I lost some images over the years, so some of the image links were broken. I took those down, but I put everything I have up there, which is actually quite a bit, including this set. So you can stream the whole thing specifically from there. I want to get it on the apps and Bandcamp and stuff, but I need permission from the guys to do that, and I haven't asked. I don't know that anyone's opposed to it, but I just got to get all my ducks in a row with that, and I want to promote it too. Like I want to do a podcast about it. This felt amazing to perform. Like this point of the set, we're bashing this out.
Right, that's awesome.
Joel loved a fade-out ending. Hard to pull off live, obviously,
Yeah.
but I'm so glad I talked him into actually kind of creating an ending for this. I don't like a fade-out ending.
I know. That's been an opinion of yours for a very long time.
Yeah, and that was a real point of conflict between us at times. Because he would just fade out anything. But I really think it's important to kind of pull that one back together and give it an actual period.
Yeah.
So we're going to close this chapter of the celebration with Pat Bradley.
Perfect and strong, but it's
Project that you brought to me. Pat Bradley of Lincoln fame, Tangelo. What are Pat's other bands?
Well, he was in Pablo's Triangle.
That's right.
He was in the Self-Righteous Brothers. Those are huge Lincoln bands, like enormous. And Tangelo, oh my God, they were like.
Yeah, look up Tangelo's Year of Saturday. Actually, it's hard to look up. I would love to release Tangelo's Year of Saturdays as well, because it's not on streaming or Bandcamp or anything. I've told you this before, but if you ever run into Pat, tell him I want to do it, because people need to hear that.
It's an amazing record.
But yeah, Pat had, I mean, you tell the story, but Pat had these songs sitting on the shelf and no plans to release them, and you managed to pry them away from him and get them to me to put out.
Well, so it was really neat. The first time we ever played a show with Tangelo, we played with Tangelo, and I just thought like Pat was like the coolest dude. He's just awesome and really good at music. And I remember we played first because they were the bigger band, and then afterward he came up to me and he said, "Hey, like after our set but before theirs, he's like, please tell your friends not to leave. Like all of our fans are older, like they're gone already, please," or whatever. And then so I got to talking to him, and we just became buddies. And we would play solo shows a lot around town, which was really fun. But yeah, he mentioned he had a bunch of, the musical tales of P. Bradley, like he just had these songs that he'd recorded that he wasn't doing anything with. And I had a plan. I knew what to do with them. But man, all of them are so good. Really good guitarist. Has like a great,
this is
finger picking style.
I love this kind of mini album. It's 10 songs, but only like 23 minutes or something like that. Every song is a gem. I remember I don't know if it was the same show where you talked to Pat, but I remember a Tangelo show at Knickerbocker's that just absolutely transported me, for 40 minutes. One of my favorite sets I've ever seen from a band at any level. And this is kind of an important Mr. Furious release, because this is, I believe, the first instance of you bringing a Lincoln artist onto the label who we weren't directly connected with.
Yeah.
This is all you're not on the recording. I'm not on the recording. Scott's not on the recording. This is just something that Pat did that you were able to get onto the label, and the label was able to provide, I like to think, Pat a service here, because otherwise these songs might never have seen the light of day,
Totally. It's a home for it, and it was a way for him to share it with friends and family. I mean, these songs were sitting around, and I'm sure anybody who listened to Tangelo or any of his other projects would have loved to have heard them, but he's just not the kind of guy who's going to be ripping CDs or going out of his way to get a CD or a record made so he can share it. I think it would have just languished. So it was really cool that he was up for it, and he wasn't worried about right. There was no conversation about money or anything like that. I think he was just well, can we do the cover art for cheap or something? And we got it. I was really, I don't know, because I think by the time it got to you, was it already mixed and everything?
Yeah, I just put it out basically.
Okay.
I didn't have anything to do with the mix. I'm not even I don't even think I mastered it. I think it came mastered maybe.
Okay.
I didn't have anything to do with the cover art, and I don't want to lose track. I absolutely love what you said about a home for it. I'm talking with an artist right now about exactly that, being a home for their work. And, I hope I get to do it. I have no illusions about what Mr. Furious is and isn't, right? Not much money has changed hands over the 20 years of this label.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy when I was able to send a few people $8 of revenue share from streaming, from 6 years of streaming or whatever. So very little money has changed hands over the years. But on the plus side, I think we've been a great home for some really great music. Pat's a good example of that. I hope Katie is a good example of that. I'm not really in touch with her anymore, but I hope so. Greg, when we'll get to White Air and some of that stuff. Certainly Rob and getting Fireflies across the finish line, and that'll be in the next part. We'll talk to Rob and tell that whole story. And of course, the Golden Age, and I was so thrilled to do the digital release of Calla Lily, years after the fact. And I loved that EP when it came out, long before I had anything to do with it. And literally all I've done is put it online. But, when Rob's life ended and Calla Lily, which I think is his best work, was there ready and waiting for people to click play on and link to and stuff. I was really proud to be a home for that music, and thank you for that metaphor, because that, I think, is exactly what Mr. Furious is.
It is neat, and I've talked to at least a handful of people that have experienced this, but who knows how many more out there are that have ended up at Mr. Furious because their friend Greg or Pat or you or me or whomever puts out some music on the site. And then while they're there, they just end up listening to something else because it's right there. I mean, like, there's so many other options. There's so much music, you know? Like, there's no shortage of options. And it's so neat to, like, be able to sample, like, 10 or 12 different, you know, bands, even if some of the members are shared across the bands or whatever. But, you know, so many different bands that can, like, I don't know, that all can offer you something new. I don't know. It's very cool.
It's cool, and we're closing in on 100 releases. I mean, we're a couple of years away, but 2025 is going to be big. I know what the first 4 to 5 are, just right out of the gate, and that's not even counting stuff that might crop up, you know. And Drew's got a lot of stuff that's in process, and I don't know when he'll choose to finish it, and I don't know necessarily what you're up to. We'll be back to kind of normal in 2025 with, I'll say, at least 5 releases plus Furious Instance and getting the MS Ride back catalog out, and so we're gonna be closing in on 100 in 2027, 2028, definitely by the 25th anniversary, which is crazy to think about, right? Back when we put MFR 225 as a joke on the first Shacker CD.
It's so awesome. I know this website of yours could be in graduate school studying to be a doctor. That's how elderly it is. Well, in a few years.
That's true.
Yeah. Not like Doogie, older than Doogie. I think I'm going to say it on the podcast. Maybe that'll inspire me to actually get it done. But I want 2025 to be the year that I actually put out more guitar music of some kind.
Sweet.
It's just been a really long time. I have, like, no joke, like 40 guitar song demos on my phone. And it's just a matter, like, of just finishing up instead of, like, it's really fun doing guitar demo ideas. That's why I have so many, because it means I don't have to actually finish it. so I need to start doing that. But anyway, so maybe. Do
you know? Can I make a suggestion, an unasked for suggestion?
Yes.
I wonder if this is a different type of recording process that might appeal to you. What if you sat down regularly, like at least once a week, couple times a week would be great, and just hit record and, like, played 4 different songs. And I don't know how you feel about, like, listening back to or editing your stuff, but, you know, just repeating that until you start finding takes of each song. Mm-hmm. Right? And when you find a take of one, it drops out of the rotation, you add a song. Now, that's a kind of listening and editing intensive process, maybe, but I don't know how you feel about that. And that, I wonder if that diffuses some of the pressure, like, because it doesn't matter if you don't get a keeper
anything
on a given night. You know what I mean? You just hit record. You can literally you don't even have to stop the recording. Just let it go for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Then hit stop. And then the next day listen back or whatever and see if you got anything.
I think it does. Like, if I can just record and just decide, like, if I sit down and decide that I'm not going to, like, if I'm just like, whatever, I'm not going to get any keepers tonight, then that, like, just makes it more fun. And if I don't get one that night, then that's great. And if I do, then that's a pleasant surprise. And also, so the thing for me is that I sort of dread, in a way, calling a song final. So I have a lot of songs that if you listen to them, you would say they sound like a song. Maybe one part needs to be a little bit longer, or you might consider adding a solo or a bridge or something like that. But it's like making that final decision to say this is what it is and this is how I'm going to record it. And I'm not sure why that is exactly, but pressing record on a computer and just playing it, and like we said, like, playing live will help you make those decisions. I think just playing it as a take, like maybe it will intuitively sort itself out or something, I guess. I think it would for me anyway.
Or maybe in the listening, how do you feel about listening to your own rough takes? Is that
I'm totally chill with it.
Is that scary or okay?
Nope, not scary at all. Like one of my, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but like, so I like writing songs, I like playing shows, I like practicing, but my favorite thing to do as far as my own music is listen to my own recorded music like after it's already done. And so like if it's a rough take, that's okay too. I like that.
That's great. I think we should normalize that. I listen to a lot of stuff. I'll say stuff I've been involved in too. Now, that is more stuff on the label that I've had that I've mastered or put out more than my own songs.
Sure.
But I'm definitely not. I listen to my own songs semi-frequently, every couple years, or something. And, a little more earlier. Like, it's really nice. You work so hard on something, you put it out, you do want a break. I will definitely probably revisit within like 3 to 6 months, and again in a year or something, and then every 2 or 3 years. Night mode's kind of an exception because that's very functional music to me and music to work to or to read to or whatever. So I'm quicker and more frequent to revisit night mode because it's instrumental and a lot of it's semi-improvised. So there's less kind of pressure on it. And it's like I'm creating exactly what I want to hear in terms of ambient or electronic music. So I will go to that more frequently than certainly a lot more often than I'll go to MS Ride or whatever.
There are certain songs or records of mine that I'm really stoked on, but I don't listen to that often. And when I do, like listening back to Joanna, for example, that was a nice surprise. I hadn't heard that in a really long time. And it was like, right. You were talking about it once you get it recorded, not only do you need a break just because you've played it and heard it so many times, but also you're too close to it. So listening to a song that was recorded that long ago, it doesn't feel like proprietary anymore or something like that. So I can just enjoy it as what it is, which is really nice.
Yeah, and maybe that's kind of a good place to tie it up. If you do it right, one of the blessings of the passage of time is you do forget some of the details and inconveniences and whatever of the recording, and it can just kind of be, and you can listen to it somewhat more as a listener.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a level where that can be painful, for me at least yet, but not the stuff on Mr. Furious. Like I'm talking about demos and earlier things. By the time we're at this point, I'm very happy to listen back to this stuff, and it's nice to revisit, even if it hasn't been that long. Like I listened to Pat Bradley's record within the last 6 months purely for pleasure because I love those songs.
One record that I like to listen to a lot for a bunch of reasons is the Believe the Honesty Bro EP. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. One, it was a very fun era. It was fun to play those songs. It was fun to write them, and it was fun to practice them. Recording them was really fun. It was me, Howie, Scott, and Jamie, like that core kind of group of Doan dudes. It came together really well. I love the way it ended up. I think AJ did a terrific job with it. And it has the mood I want in a lot of records, but also just, right, there's like a lot of good feelings associated with it.
Interesting. So when it comes to that era, I like to listen to the Zubar set.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Much more than the studio EP.
It is amazing to me. Like I remember being sort of shocked when I listened to myself, like when you leave a message on a friend's answering machine in high school, and hearing your voice in that context is always weird, but I was always amazed at how quickly I spoke. And I remember listening to the raw cut of like some of the raw audio from that Zubar set. And like, just being like, wow, I was really like, just get like frantic or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but some of that banter actually runs through my head. Like, actually, literally yesterday, I was thinking to myself, you say that thing about mistakes and you're just gonna make a bunch of them. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm just gonna make mistakes, like a bunch of them. It had to do, I was cooking last night, and it had to do with my beverage choices while I was cooking. And I was just like, F it, I'm gonna make a bunch of mistakes. That moment where, by the way, we're talking about it's on Bandcamp, it's the Sleepover Live at the Zoo Bar, which we'll get to in due course in part 5 or something like that. But there's a moment in the stage banter where you just go, motorin'! And it just kills me every time.
Oh man, I don't think I realized how often I say that. Because like when Elliot, my daughter, was like 2, I remember her, like, I picked her up from daycare and she went, motorin', but in her speech impediment, sort of like,
I can't do it any different.
Motorin'. Yeah, it was exactly that. I might even have a recording of it, but I think I just say that when I'm psyched about something or when things are going well. Like, I don't even think I say it anymore. So, yeah.
I just took it as a literal, I didn't know that. And I actually haven't experienced that from you, which is why I wouldn't know that. But up until this moment, I've interpreted it as just an interpolation of that song.
It is. It is. It totally is.
No, yeah, but I didn't know it had emotional meaning for you in terms of indicating excitement. I just literally thought it was a song reference.
I mean, it is. I don't know. What happened was I was in San Francisco one time, and there was this super drunk dude with long hair who looked like he stepped out of a Journey cover band, and he kept telling a joke, or he would tell a joke or whatever, and he would grab me around the shoulder and shake me and laugh like he was laughing, and I'm like his buddy. And he could tell I was deeply uncomfortable with it, which is why I think he kept doing it. He was really nice. He was just very weird. But then, like, something awesome happened. It was like a song came on the jukebox that was not Sister Christian. It was another song that he liked a lot. And when it came on, he, like, whipped around and then whipped back to us and went, motorin'! Like that. And I've never been able to get it out of my head. I think it's, like, the best thing ever. So,
how could you?
Yeah. Anyway.
Outstanding. 20 years of Mr. Furious Records. You can hear Mr. Signal on mrfuriousrecords.bandcamp.com. Link in the notes. Cory, I forgot to ask you this last time. If anyone wanted to find you on the World Wide Web, what would they do?
Holy God.
You have an Instagram or anything you want to mention?
Instagram. Yep, at Cory Kibler, CoryKibler. That's a great place to see my very stunning vacation photos.
There you go.
And I put some other music up there sometimes, some links and stuff. So that's a good place.
Sweet. Well, I'm sure we'll talk again soon. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your friendship and music over the years. It's hard to put into words, like right now, kind of on the spot. Like, I guess I kind of did it last time too, but what your music has meant to me and how many hours I've spent with things like Beach Puppy and the Zoo Bar, Sleepover Live at the Zoo Bar and the Silent Woods. And it's been great, and I look forward to more of it.
Same here, motorin', and I feel like a lot of our music, right, even if it's its own thing, it's sort of like when you're making a friendship bracelet and you're weaving it all together, and then at the end, if it's unfinished, the threads go this way and that.
Okay.
Right, just those initial threads, I think, were very closely tied together with your music and my music and other people's that don't, and it's neat to see the way it's evolved on its own, but it's really cool that it has that shared history. Like, that's a really cool, if nothing else, that's a really cool thing to have.
Whole ass tapestry at Mr. Furious Records.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody. I can't remember where we are in the schedule, so I don't know what you'll hear next week. But there will be a show. I'll promise you that on Dat Fury Radio. Later.
Yeah. That was awesome.